Given the ever-expanding landscape of federal government payoffs and overreach uncovered by DOGE, that would be, of course, redistribution of wealth, such as FEMA sending $59 million of our earnings to New York City to house migrants while we try to pay for heat and electricity. Well, another scandal or series of them seemed inevitable. And yes, we have another. But this connects to years of central government plots to silence us, to shut down our voices, to smother our freedom of speech, and overpower our ability to speak the truth. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV, and here's the story. As the Foundation for Freedom Online, FFO, reports, government records show that the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, in 2023 earmarked $2.6 million to fund a so-called war on disinformation. In other words, to fund another speech-strangling tentacle of Leviathan. This news comes atop numerous reports by MRC-TV, Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger, and others about everything from the 2016 Portman-Murphy Countering Foreign Propaganda Act that Obama signed as part of the toweringly offensive National Defense Authorization Act of that year, a statute, by the way, that allowed the feds to shovel $150 million into government-favored propaganda projects over 2 years, something that Trump ended but was resurrected for 2 more years when Biden took office, all the way into, you got it, the Fed-funded Global Engagement Center and into the left-biased so-called fact-checker called NewsGuard, to Stanford University's Virality Project, and of course, who can forget the high-profile domain of singing censor Nina Jankowicz, the so-called Disinformation Governance Board that she ran.
It's how you hide a little lie.
That would be the federal "we take your money to demonize and silence you" Ministry of Truth, which actually didn't shut down in 2022 when she departed, but was redirected and placed under the hands of charmer Michael Chertoff. Yeah, each year since Portman-Murphy, federal goons have made new attempts to stifle our ability to speak, and now we discover another multi-million-dollar handout to add to the fund. Oh, and shocker, the money that thus far FEMA has spent, it's gone to a pretty well-heeled subsidiary of a politically connected corporation, the Mitt Romney-founded Bain Capital. Among the FFO discoveries, quote, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, awarded a $2.6 million contract for mis, and malinformation analysis to Guidehouse Incorporated, a subsidiary of Bain Capital, in September 2024, end quote. That would be Guidehouse, which has deep ties to government contracting, having led the company to secure over $900 million in federal contracts in 2023 alone, with clients like the Department of Homeland Security, Health and Human Services, and Department of Interior. Writes FFO, quote, Guidehouse's anti-disinformation services included contacting social media platforms on behalf of their clients to meet their counter-disinformation needs and citing former intelligence community veterans, including a former CIA chief of staff, as its in-house experts. End quote. Yes, that would be Rodney Snyder, a former chief of station for the CIA in the Middle East, working with the company FEMA hired to silence you. Super classy, huh? Oh, but he's not the only spook tied to Guidehouse. Oh, yes, there's a great deal more information in this FEMA censorship circle. Writes FFO, quote, the company Guidehouse also maintained a proprietary database of mis, and malinformation, as well as internal risk ratings for websites. In 2024, a Guidehouse contractor working for the U.S. Department of State attended an exclusive invite-only gala hosted by the Center for Countering Digital Hate, CCDH, the British nonprofit that wants to kill Musk's Twitter, end quote. MRC-TV readers and viewers likely will recall our coverage of the CCDH and its ties to the leftist U.S. organization and Podesta creation, the Center for American Progress. Yeah. FFO reports that the FEMA funds haven't all been spent and, quote, according to Guidehouse, its counter-disinformation services, including its database of disinformation, have been discontinued, end quote. And Guidehouse evidently has tried to scrub evidence of its government funding censorship efforts. But, writes FFO, quote, a link to a 2021 Guidehouse report advertising its counter-disinformation services now returns a 404 page. But Guidehouse has not been able to remove all traces of its report from the web. It remains accessible through online archives. We also know through online archives that Guidehouse's page advertising its anti-misinformation and anti-disinformation capabilities also advertised the expertise of two of its now former employees, Jason Dury and Rodney Snyder, end quote. Yeah, we've been able to look at Snyder's CIA ties, but what about Dury? Quote, Dury, according to his bio, worked in U.S. intelligence for 25 years, while Snyder was a station chief in the Middle East and chief of staff to two CIA directors. His bio also states he helped stand up the National Counterterrorism Center, end quote. That would be the federal spy gang started in 2004 and known by the letters NCTC, which supposedly facilitates information sharing across agencies like the CIA, FBI, and Department of Defense. The NCTC also maintains a central database of terrorism-related information and produces assessments to guide counter-terrorism operations. What better skills to employ against average Americans trying to exercise their freedom of speech? The FFO team adds, quote, this is another example of a long-running theme in FFO's research. The close involvement of current and former members of the U.S. security and foreign policy state in the counter-disinformation industry, end quote. That's disinformation as defined by agents of the state and then reported to social media and the dinosaur press. Quote, in its 2021 report, Guidehouse reveals that it engages social media platforms on behalf of clients in order to report mis and disinformation. This kind of switchboarding activity using a private company to relay content moderation requests to tech platforms has been a major source of controversy for DHS in the past, end quote. It seems as if the government propagandists and censors just can't grasp why that kind of behavior, taking our money to silence us or to fund the dissemination of ideas we find objectionable, why that might be upsetting. This is particularly galling in a nation that purportedly has a U.S. Constitution to safeguard against this kind of cloak and dagger silencing machine. And FFO closes with this, a special treat for MRC-TV readers and viewers who are aware of the long battle we have fought with the federally subsidized News Guard. Quote, similarly to the media blacklisting company News Guard, Guidehouse also identified websites that it considers higher risk for spreading mis and disinformation. Guidehouse did not publicly reveal which websites are on that list, but presumably its clients in the U.S. government had access to it, end quote. You know, these kinds of tactics used to be associated with the Soviet Union. Did you know you were paying for all these kinds of things here in the U.S.? These nefarious activities? We're only a month into the new administration, and revelations such as this and many more have come before us in a wave. If this is just the start, imagine how deep and wide this censorship complex might possibly be. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe. Keep fighting the good fight for truth, and join us over at Rumble, where they don't censor us. Of course, we are still on YouTube, where they do censor us. And you can find us all the time inside Facebook. Join the crowd there. Give your comments on all the items that are posted. Join us at MRC-TV.org. That's MRC-TV.org. Find out what the whole team is doing. Consider donating to the Media Research Center and visit the store. And of course, find us on TikTok, on Instagram, on X. And if you want to find me on Gab, I'm at Gardner Goldsmith on Gab. And on X, you can find me as at Gard Goldsmith. Thanks for watching, and please share the videos. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.